Okay, I'm Al Kmetz. I'm running for the city commissioner. I reside in Cherokee Village for 20 years in April. I live on Lake Omaha. I have 5 questions to address. How would you describe your role as a commissioner? Simply put, my role as a commissioner would be to work with the commission to support, advise, and prioritize goals for the current management and administration. We should not tell the present management how to do their job, but to assist them in doing their job. Question 2 would be, what would you do to preserve the ecological balance of our lakes, as well as managing our fisheries? In the past, from 2022 to 2024, we have budgeted money for game fish such as largemouth bass, bluegills, crappies, catfish. However, we have not spent anything on them. Also, chemicals for treatments, spent nothing. We need to schedule restocking game fish, but first we need to add nutrients to the lakes and eventually use electroshock to monitor what we presently have. We would need to prioritize which lakes to go to first. As far as the ecological approach, we need to revisit eliminating the unwanted weeds. Believe it or not, a lot of these weeds and algae is promising for the existence of the fish, although it may be unsightly. We need to control building and clearing lots on the lakes and control erosion by continuing monitoring. Recently, the bow fishing is a good idea, although a little inconvenient for the existing homeowners' privacy. As far as dredging the lakes, could be done a lake at a time about every 8 years, which would result in lowering the lake. The silt is taking up water space, making it shallower for boats and harder for fish to spawn. It also causes algae in lakes to increase. Remember, we have Lake Thunderbird, Lake Omaha, Sequoia, Chinook, Navajo, Cherokee, and Aztec. This all can be viewed on the internet from a site from Specialized Outdoor Services, which did this survey. Question 3. Reacting to, will you support the current management and administration? Absolutely. As I see that with the right guidance, they can be successful. That's an easy question. 4, how will I prioritize spending? I can talk for an hour on this one. This is why people have asked me to be on the commission, as I have monitored their spending since 2021 and compiled numerous spreadsheets and charts showing their progress or regression. Unfortunately, they're regressing. 2021 showed a profit of $341,699, of which they spent only about 55% of their assessment money. 2022 showed a budget of $772,000, of which produced $609,000, of which they overspent by 110% of their assessment money. 2023 showed a budget of $896,000 and showed a profit of $1,000, of which they spent 135% of their assessment money. Reasons were for $380,000 for Lake Thunderbird Pool and Lake Omaha, $220,000 for building repairs. 2024 budgeted $700,000, only to show a negative profit of around $200, of which 130% of expenses from assessment money. $380,000 was for a settlement with the water company. This year we budgeted $133,000. and currently showing a negativity of $161,000, of which 165% of expenditures are out of assessment money. Fortunately, November and December, we usually get a large bump in revenue from assessments. However, we have utilized for the first time about $150,000 that we have put away from prior years in a capital fund, which uses up our capital money. About 50% of our assessment money goes to golf courses. 2021, it was only 26%. 2022 rose to 54%, 23, 47%, 24, 51%, and this year it's at 69%. General office has been going up from 15% in 2021 to 22%, 23%, 40% in 2024, and 23% this year. The lakes has been about 3%, and this year is 23% due to engineering, which is 14% of the 23. Prioritizing spending is my #1 objective. We need to control legal expenses by making smarter decisions to avoid any repercussions leading to lawsuits and then settlements. We need to utilize engineering services more discreetly. It is necessary to use engineering to assist us in developing a request for any grant money to pay for costly repairs. However, if we cannot come up with 25% of the requested money for the project, it'll be denied. Then we have to look for an alternate source to secure the 25% needed. In summation, my goal as a commissioner is to restore the communications faith in SID by keeping the committee to work together, avoid any bickering within the committee and the administration in public forums. Also to address any questions, and if we cannot answer them at the time and state we will get back to you, then do just that and respond to your questions and avoid stating that they are instructed by attorneys not to discuss. If necessary, get the attorneys to address the public on telecommunications and at least inform the public what their end result is and not how they are arriving at their end result. If keeping everyone in the dark and settling may result in repercussions causing more lawsuits and settlements. This is some of the reasons why SID has gotten a bad reputation with social media and word of mouth. My ultimate goal is to get SID more favorable in social media and by word of mouth. I have more on finances and directions we need to be headed, and I can share at any time, but I'm sure I am using up my allotted time. Going back, looking at some other stuff as far as the fisheries and stuff like that, the electric shock is not really a detriment. What it does is it just shocks the fish momentarily and stuns them so they can get an accurate count of how many fish we have in the lake, and then they reintroduce them into the lake. Naturally, like I said, you want to stock the largemouth bass, which feed off the bluegills. The bluegills feed off the smaller fish, and the smaller fish feeds off the insects, which feeds off the weeds and the algae. So therefore, like I says, the weeds and the algae, unless they become unsightly due to the lakes being low because of drought and stuff like that, need to be controlled. And that's something that I want to look at as far as the lakes go. But once again, like I said, the lakes haven't been getting the attention the last few years as much as the golf courses have. The golf courses are like 70% of our assessment money right now, which was 20-some% back in 2021 when the settlement was settled with the city. Basically, as far as the dams go and everything, we got to be a little bit more discreet about doing anything with the dams and everything. Yes, engineering is putting together a lot of money for the dams and everything, and it looks like it's going to be very costly. What we need to do is look at some temporary repairs that will suffice to the state regulations and everything. As far as finances go, like I said, they definitely need to be redirected and everything. One of my main concerns is like I said, doing away with the Parks and Rec department and replacing it with building maintenance. Parks and Rec was an amenity and everything. Building maintenance, what I see is every rec center, Omaha, Thunderbird, Sequoia, Lakes Department, have their own building management and their own building maintenance. What is building maintenance doing for us? Basically, they absorbed what Parks and Recreation had for the budget and everything, and they did decrease the salaries somewhat, but unfortunately, they replaced it with management or maintenance contracts, which went from $4,000 to $160,000 in a year's time. So the money's being spent a little bit more on building maintenance than it was on Parks and Recreation. And my contention is what is building maintenance actually doing? I mean, where is the money going? I mean, if they were doing the building maintenance, then why is Omaha and Thunderbird and Sequoia and the Lakes Department still paying for their own? In which case, then maybe it was the fire stations. Well, the fire stations are a way of the past now. They don't have them anymore. So what buildings is building maintenance actually maintaining? Those are some of the questions that I have that I need to address for my own personal reasons. That's basically what I have. I thank you for your time and looking forward to any roundtable meetings.